So today we're going to dive into a really fascinating and powerful figure from the African diaspora, Mami Wata. She's this incredibly complex water deity, and believe me, her story has some seriously profound wisdom for how we can navigate our world today. And this image, right here, this is the key. This is pretty much everything you need to know to start understanding her. She comes up from the water and she's holding a mirror. And that mirror, well, that's a symbol that's absolutely central to her whole story. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get into her role as the goddess of the crossing. Then, we'll take a hard look at what that mirror is all about. After that, we'll talk about the price of her gifts, her unique strategy for survival, and finally, we'll pull it all together to see what she can teach us right here, right now.
You see, Mami Wata is never just one thing. She's always described as half woman and half fish, or sometimes half serpent. The point is, she doesn't belong fully to the land or fully to the water. She exists right there in the space between. She is the seam that holds two worlds together.
And you gotta understand, this seam isn't some peaceful, relaxing place. No way. It's her home, yeah, but it's also the source of all her power. It's this turbulent, demanding space where everything crashes together: tradition and modernity, danger and beauty, terror and treasure. Mami Wata's origins are ancient. They're rooted deep in West and Central African river spirits. But her story didn't stay there. She crossed the Atlantic right alongside the slave ships, and in that horrific journey, she absorbed all of its terror and transformed. She became a truly diasporic deity, taking on new forms like La Sirene in Haiti and Iemanjá in Brazil. Okay, so let's get back to her most important symbol, that mirror. And let's be clear, this has nothing to do with vanity. Her mirror is a tool. It's for this incredibly deep and honestly uncomfortable kind of self-examination. It forces you to confront yourself in a way you just can't avoid. And that's really the big question her mythology forces us to ask, right? When Mami Wata holds that mirror up to you, what is it that you're actually being forced to see? Turns out the mirror shows you two things at the exact same time. It shows you who you are right now, warts and all, and it shows you who you desperately desire to be. And that gap, that space between those two reflections, that's what she's interested in. That tells her everything she needs to know. How you react when you see that gap? Well, that's crucial. Do you flinch? Do you try to look away? That reaction, that flinch, that's information. It points directly to the parts of yourself you haven't looked at yet, the vulnerabilities that others can and will exploit. Now, the mythology says that sometimes Mami Wata will take one of her followers down to her kingdom under the water. And when she does, she gives them these incredible gifts. But, and this is a big but, those gifts always come with a very clear price. And we are talking about real, tangible benefits here. Things like new insights, incredible abilities, sometimes even serious wealth. The power she offers is absolutely real. But those gifts, they're not free. They're conditional. And the terms of her deal are just as real and just as powerful as the gifts themselves. Just look at this table. It's like the true exchange rate. The condition isn't some random rule she makes up. It's literally the structure that holds the gift together. Fidelity is the container that holds wealth. Honesty is the foundation that supports insight. You see? The condition is the gift's internal logic. So if a follower breaks the conditions, if they get greedy or lie, she doesn't punish them. Not really. She just stops holding the gift in place. The support structure gets removed, and the gift just drains away. It's a natural consequence. All right, so how does this all build into her main teaching about cultural survival? It's brilliant, really. Mami Wata doesn't just fight against outside power. She engages with it, but she does it on her own terms. The key is she incorporates. She doesn't assimilate. Her image is like a living collage of history. It's got layers of meaning. She took the snake imagery from Hindu art she saw on 15th century trade ships. She took the mermaid look from European sailors. She even absorbed the trauma of the Middle Passage itself. She basically digests whatever the world throws at her, and it just makes her bigger. And this is the critical difference. Absorption is an act of sovereignty. It's when your tradition pulls something from the outside into its own shape. Assimilation is the opposite. It's an act of submission. That's when your tradition gets pulled into the dominant culture's shape and you start to lose yourself. Mami Wata absorbed the mermaid tail, for sure.
but she never stopped being a powerful African deity.
So here's the ultimate test. It's actually pretty simple. When two cultures meet, whose project ends up being served? Whose shape, whose logic wins out in the end? That's how you tell the difference between absorption and submission. So what does all of this mean for us, for our lives? Well, Mami Wata's story isn't just a bunch of ancient myths. It's a coherent and seriously relevant philosophy for how to deal with the world we live in right now. You could almost lay it out like a framework for navigating life. First, dwell at the threshold. Be comfortable in the in-between spaces. Second, practice honest self-examination. Look in that mirror. Third, read the conditions of power. Understand what you're agreeing to. And fourth, absorb, don't assimilate. When you think about it, she's really a guide for anyone who's ever felt caught between who they are and the crushing pressure from the world around them. She is the patron saint of anyone trying to navigate that chaotic, demanding seam. And this might be the heart of her wisdom. She doesn't promise you'll be safe. She offers no easy comforts. What she promises is knowledge. And in her territory, those turbulent waters of power and culture, knowledge is the only real form of safety you're going to find. And so, in the end, she turns that mirror back on us. We've all made our own crossings, haven't we? We've all navigated between different worlds, different values. So the question she leaves us with is a big one. Now that you're here, what are you going to build with everything you carried to make it across?